Okay guys, so welcome back to another video. I hope you are all doing well. In this video, I filmed a Euro USD trade live for you guys, which currently made us today around $3,000. There was also another missed pound US dollar buy limit that I sent out this morning. However, price never managed to pull back and tag us in. But in this video, I'm going to be breaking down both trades for you guys because both were perfect examples of the system that I used, and which the one that allowed me to ultimately make $3,000 just trading today in the London session. If you can also stick around until the end of the video, I'm going to be walking you through a full process which can instantly improve your trading by making it a lot more methodical and mechanical as well. So without further ado, let's jump into the first trade breakdown, and I will walk you guys through how I exactly made $3,000 today trading Euro USD. And as I said, this was all recorded live as well, as you will see in this video. Alright guys, so currently we are in this Euro USD buy, and let me just walk you through the analysis behind it. I'll keep you updated with how it goes and everything like that, how I manage it, and the result of the trade obviously. So first of all, zooming out to the daily time frame. Recently we have had this sort of extended move down in this pullback, but currently I'm still viewing it as just a pullback, because price is still respecting this overall bullish leg, which was between this low and this high, right? So my thought process here is that this could easily just be a retracement for a price to eventually continue higher to target this previous high, and that is kind of the thought process and the main thought process behind this trade idea, right? So price has retraced down, and significantly at the end of last week we had price take out this area of 4-hour demand. Now, one of my points of interest and one of the sort of higher probability entry models that I use in trading is the fact that when you see an area of higher time frame demand taken out like this, it becomes very high probability that you see a move in the opposing direction, and that is exactly what is sort of happening here. So you can see prices retraced down, right? Swept this area of 4-hour demand. It also re-grabbed the low. This is still a valid scenario for me, even though price did go a little bit lower, because I'm just currently viewing this as kind of like a re-grab of the lows rather than as a breaker structure for lower prices. Also, given that overall higher time frame context, right? If this was overall bearish, it would be slightly different. I would probably view this as a breaker structure, but because price was overall bullish and took out this 4-hour demand, I'm currently viewing this as a sweep of previous lows. Now, what we can see is once price took out that previous low to the left, we then had this move up. Price then retraced back down into this hourly demand, which was my point of interest going into this week. So today is currently Monday, approaching New York session. Price tapped into this area during Asian session last night, and then we had our standard entry confirmation, which for me is very simply an M5 change of character, and then you can see price created this area of imbalanced demand and created an area of liquidity above it. You can see this morning just here price induced this area, meaning it came very close to it but didn't quite tap into it. So I was using this as like an area of liquidity to basically enter off, because once this area is taken out, you know that the majority of traders have been taken out. They're probably looking to sell around this point right here, seeing this as kind of like a change of character. But based on all of the other confluences and factors that I just mentioned, and particularly that higher time frame context, I was viewing this as a sweep rather than a change of character to take price higher. So this is currently the position we're in, and like I said, I'll keep you updated with how it goes. In my trading plan, I only ever hold to stop loss or TP using this mechanical 1 to 3 take profit system, which in this case aligns very nicely with this previous high. I don't make trades break even, and I don't take partials, so this is either going to be a loss or a win, and I will keep you guys updated with how it goes. Ideally, we can see price break above this high. That would be quite a good sign that the trade is likely to play out. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated throughout the day, and we will see how this one goes. Alright guys, so little update on how the trade is going. We did actually just hit final TP for around 3%, which was around just under $3,000 on my live 100k funded account. I'll pop the screenshot up somewhere on the screen right here, just for proof that we did actually take this. And also, just before I do a mini breakdown of why I took this position, let me just go and show you that this trade was sent beforehand. This is the trade entries section of VIP. It's not just trade entries, we also have a full course in there. We do daily live calls, and this trade was also forecasted in this morning's live call as well. So as you guys can see right here, we did send this buy limit from earlier. You can see there the timer is on, so it's obviously live price. And yeah, just also real quick, if we go back into the Discord, you can see we did have a few people posting wins. So someone made $230 on this one. Another guy made $1,000 there, 140. Start to 10k funded challenge, up 3% already. So as you guys can see, this guy made 3% as well, and we had a load more as well. So let me just have a look. We had somebody make $3,600 on a funded account on 100k as well. So everybody managed to get in this trade, so that's also great to see. Love seeing the team win like that. And this was actually the first trade I've taken in over 2 weeks now, so it just goes to show that you don't need to take many trades to make a lot of money. This trade literally paid back for most of the villa that we just paid for around 2 weeks ago. You guys would have seen the day in the life in Marbella. The villa was around $3,000 for the 10 nights, so this trade pretty much covers the whole thing. And I also placed this trade whilst I was in Costa this morning, just casually drinking a coffee. So that's the power of trading. That's the great thing about trading, right? So I already kind of went through this trade breakdown, but just to kind of recap everything, the thought process behind this trade: price was overall still bullish on higher time frame. It retraced back down into the current daily leg, swept this area of demand. We then had price regrab in the lows, and this morning we saw price retrace into this area of demand, and then we had our entry confirmation, which was very simply M5 change of character, imbalanced area of demand, inducement above it, set the limit, and then we mechanically target a 1 to 3. And this is one of the things that I always try to emphasize as well, is the importance of using a mechanical TP rule, because one thing I personally found in the past is that if you have a more discretionary TP approach, you often get confused, and this can lead to a lot of mistakes. So for example, you know, if you had a discretionary TP, you could target this high, you could target, you know, this area of supply that I've marked up here, you could target this wick, you could target the imbalance just above it. It's just really confusing, and there's not really a clear and consistent approach if you're using that sort of TP rule. Whereas if you just use a mechanical TP rule, in my case I use a 1 to 3 on every single trade, it just becomes a lot more simple and a lot more easier to stay consistent and to do the same thing on every single trade. And this is going to make it, you know, 10 times easier in terms of your trading psychology as well, because if you have that mechanical TP rule, you're not going to ever make any human error or human or mistakes while you're in the trade, because you know exactly what to do. You know that if the trade pulls back against you, you have to hold to stop loss or TP, and there's no room for sort of mismanaging the trade or anything like that. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention here as well was how we also had a very similar trade on GU this morning, which never actually pulled back to the entry. So my thought process on GU at the beginning of today was very, very similar. And obviously EU and GU are pretty much the same pair. They perfectly positively correlate essentially. But what I was seeing on GU, and this is kind of the importance of reacting and kind of adapting to what price is showing, right? I knew that once price did a certain thing on GU, it was very unlikely to pull back for our entry. So I moved over to EU and set a similar trade on there because the opportunity was still there. So what I was seeing on GU was the fact that price had retraced, swept this external low, which was the current higher low in this overall uptrend. We then saw price shift back bullish last week, just here. It retraces, holds this area of demand, which was this 30-minute demand right there, and then you see it shift back bullish. And then crucially as well, at the end of last week before market closed, we saw this pullback. But where did price pull back from? It just pulls back from this kind of random area to the left. It hadn't swept the liquidity, which it was very clearly gravitating towards. So this led me to believe that this, rather than being a reversal for price to take the lows, was very simply just a retracement for eventual higher prices. So that's kind of the thought process there. And then what confirmed this for me was when this morning during Asian session and London session as well, price grabbed the low, gave us our change of character. So this was the entry confirmation. Once price was at around this point, I actually had a limit set on this area of demand right here, but as you guys can see, price never pulled back into it. And once price kind of pushed up to around this point, I basically anticipated that, you know, price was very, very unlikely to pull all the way back down here. And if it did, I didn't really want to set a limit because it's kind of like catching a falling knife against all of the momentum. So what I did instead, because I do have GU and EU on my watch list, I just very simply went over to Euro USD and saw that there was still a very nice entry opportunity there instead. So I decided to take that trade instead. Obviously I wouldn't have taken both of these at the same time, because you're essentially then risking 2% instead of 1, because they're basically, you know, the same pair. They move in exactly the same fashion, meaning that if one had lost, the other one would have also lost, meaning that my total exposure is 2% instead of 1%, which I didn't want to have. I only want to have maximum 1%. So I hope you guys all enjoyed this trade breakdown. If you want to join the team, I will leave a link to the description. I'll leave a link in the description below. We do live morning calls every single day to analyze price. I sent all of my trades in there, and there is also a full 30+ hour course of how I trade. We also do live back testing every single weekend as well. So if you guys are interested, I'll leave that in the description below. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you also want to see me backtest this exact system over around an hour's worth of price action, watch this video next, and I will see you guys in the next video.